Welcome to my full guide to Evil Twin Spright. This is currently the 5th and the most successful version of the deck. In all my different versions, I have had a 100% win rate going first, whether it was in a tournament, in ranked ladder, or with friends. I brought version 3 to the MCS this weekend. Even though I won all my duels going first, I lost all of the duels when I went second. So after it ended, I went on ladder and went second for a couple hours to do some testing, and this is what I came up with. Maybe I spent too much time with the festival and not enough time testing, but I never want to have a 0% win rate going second ever again. With that out of the way, let's jump into one of my tournament duels. This was my second round of a tournament against Frog Spright. I opened with full combo and they didn't have any interruptions. Sunny adds Frost to my hand. Normal Lil-la, summon Frost from deck and then summon Frost from hand. On the 4th summon, I overlay into Gigantic and use its effect to protect from Nibiru. It specials blue, adding Jet to hand. Jet summoned itself, adding Starter. I link into Dagda. I use Starter and chain Dagda. Setting Scythe and then summoning Carrot. Link Dagda and blue into Elf. Elf brings back Jet, and I link into Kissakill. It brings back Lil-la, and I link into Lil-la. And of course we summon back Kissakill, drawing a card. Link both twins into Kissakill, and then Password add Sunny to thin out the deck. I end my turn by setting 2. During the draw phase, they use Cross Out on Carrot, removing my spell Trap Negate. I get Regeki'd from my life savings, but you know what, it doesn't matter. I always win going first. They use Prosperity, cutting all battle damage by half, so we are in no risk of losing this turn. They summon Ronin followed by blue, adding red to hand. They link into dark and attempt to summon my Lil-la, but I negate it with Imperm. Red and Jet both summon themselves, adding Starter to their hand. Link into Elf, attempting to bring back blue. I banish it with Call By, even though I am at risk of drawing blue next turn. They overlay into Gigantic, summoning Swap from deck. Swap now sends another copy of itself to the grave. Ronin summons itself by banishing Swap from the grave, and Starter summons red. They overlay 2 into Mannequin Cat, and now they finally attack for half damage. They set 1 and pass. In the end phase, Dagda pops my Scythe. I couldn't summon Scythe due to their Gigantic's effect. And of course, my draw for turn is a negated blue. I start with Duster, and I use my second Sunny Snitch. I summon Lil-la, but I do not use her effect because if red negates it, tributing an extra deck monster, it destroys the negated monster. I overlay into Jin Buster and attempt to hit over red. In damage calc, they use Pixies, but I negate it with Jin. They cannot use red in damage calculation. Now that I destroyed red, I overlay into Downer, into Zeus, and I send the field away. They top deck Beaver, summoning another copy of itself, and Ronin summons itself again. Prosperity once again is hurting them. I think they didn't have any more extra deck targets. I draw my own red and I start to pop off. Zeus and red link into Elf, bringing back blue. Blue adds Jet to my hand and it's over. Getting Raigeki didn't matter and I won anyways. Several of our cards lock us from summoning different types of monsters. Starter and Gigantic both lock us into only summoning level, rank, and link 2s. This means no Zeus, Unicorn, Avermax, and access code, so you have to think very carefully if you want to negate your opponent's Gigantic, or Zeus will destroy you. If you do end up negating Gigantic, make sure they use Spright Starter first, locking them into 2s, or that you have a plan to out Zeus. After using their effects, the Evil Twin links will lock us into only summoning extra deck Fiends, so it is important to do the twin lines towards the end. Since they are Fiends, you can still summon Jin Buster and Unicorn. Spright Elf can be link summoned using any 2 monsters as long as one of them is level 2. During the main phase, if your opponent has no monsters, it can summon any of the level 2s in your grave. Usually, you are going to target any of the Spright monsters, but this is also great when you use Maxi, and they try to call by it. You can target your Maxi from the grave to summon it, wasting their call by. If your opponent has at least one monster on the field, you can now target any Link or rank 2s in the grave. The only time I would select a rank 2 is if you have a Downward Zeus play. The Evil Twin, Links, and Masquerena are more flexible targets, so do not be afraid to tribute your Link 2s when using Carrot or Red, since Elf will most likely be able to bring them back. You already saw the live twin lines in the replay earlier, but once again, we summon Lil-la, and then summon the maximum copies of Frost as possible, and then overlay into Gigantic. Then we link into Dagda, activate any effect like Starter to set Scythe, link Dagda away into Elf, and then summon your non-Fiend extra deck monsters like Masquerena. You just want to make sure you end with one Kiss-a-Kill on board and one Lil-la in the grave to pop your Scythe next turn. What about if we do not have any way to summon Lil-la? We can still normal summon Maxi or any of the sprites to help us get started. As long as we can find a way to Gigantic, we will always be able to link into Elf. So if you normal summon Blue or Jet, you can still summon them from the grave to get their effects. Also, without the Evil Twins, we don't really have a way to destroy Scythe, so you can just skip Dagda and go directly into Masquerena or Jin instead. Let's talk about the deck ratio, starting with the hand traps. Duel is much more useful than Ashe in this meta since everyone will want to add cards to their hand. Along with Maxi, it is easily a 3 of. Ashe, Bell, and Nibiru, having any one of these will always be nice, and it gives us more targets for crossout. So if you're wondering what happens if we open with 3 hand traps, let me show you an example. I am going second against Frog Spright. We have 3 hand traps and let's see what they can do against it. I instantly Maxi on their normal summon and Ashe negates it. Special Jet adding Starter and I use Duel here. They change Starter to it but I Ashe it. Ashe gets negated, but they still only have 2 bodies on board. Blue doesn't get an effect due to Duel, so they link into Elf, and then bring back Red, and then set 2. Even though half of our hand is gone, we still have 2 starters available. They did misclick here by not banishing Sunny before it resolved. Sometimes that's just what happens when you play on a simulator. Blue adds Carrot to their hand. I do not use Lil-la's effect since Red could have destroyed it. Red ends up negating Jet, which we don't really mind. And I just overlay into Gigantic. As we previously talked about, we know what happens if Gigantic gets negated. I move into battle phase and I attack over Elf. Now we have a 2-trigger Zeus. And I use 1 right away, clearing the board. I knew they had Carrot in hand, so when they normaled it, I just wiped the board away. They needed to top deck exactly Starter. Now that I top deck into a level 2 monster, we can now link into Elf. It summons Jet, adding Starter, and I summon Blue and Pixies. Overlay Elf and Blue into Gigantic, giving it extra damage, and it summons Red, doing exactly 5,700 points of damage. If I were to do this line again, I would have summoned Gigantic sooner, as it was my 6th summon, and I would have lost in the Nibiru. Triple Tactics Talent. With all of the monster effects in the meta right now, I feel like you must have at least 2. All of the effects on this card is game winning. Let's take a look on how it can win you the game turn 1. Open with Sunny Snitch, but it gets ashed. I use triple tag to look at their hand and I remove their only starter. So now their hand is trash and we can play around that. So instead of committing to a Scythe play, I just end on a 1 monster negate, 1 spell trap negate, and 1 banish. Absolutely nothing they could have drawn would have ever mattered and they just leave the game. This is why I do not think Ashe is good. For our removal, I have 1 Duster and 2 Cosmic. Having at least 2 is important because it helps us deal with our opponent's Scythe and the popular Hugin and Runick Fountain combo. Munin is not very common in Runick Spright since it's a level 3 monster, so they can't protect Runick Fountain from being targeted. It's up to you if you want to play Lightning Storm, but I would never consider Raigeki. If you are missing any of the main deck URs, like if you do not have a second triple tack, you can just add a copy of regular Kiss-a-Kill. So if they banish or destroy your Lil-la, but its effects resolve, You can summon Kiseko, and then it can summon another Lil-la from your deck. I love Jin Buster in this deck. Along with Downard and Zeus, they have won me many games. I believe you only need 2 of each Gigantic and Elf since we really need the space for our toolbox. IP into Unicorn or Avermax on our opponent's turn is always great, but if you can only craft one, 100% of the time, make Unicorn. Dagda and the 3 Evil Twins must always be together. And finally, 1 Access Code Talker as our finisher. I know that was a lot to cover, and I hope it helps you if you decide to play this deck. If there's anything I missed out, or if you're doing something different, please let me know in the comment section below. I have a lot of replays to share, like what happens if you play under Shifter, or against decks like Runick Spright, P.U.N.K Tri-Brigade, Branded Despia, Mathmech, and even a Mirrormatch. I'll have it all labeled in the timestamps so you can view whichever interests you. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Until next time.